Good morning. Welcome to the Premium Public Video Forecast discussion for Friday, June 20th, 2024. We have a lot to cover. As you can see, we have the tropical Atlantic up, and we already have some activity to talk about. So let's break down these individual tropical waves. And Premium Consultant members, you have the detailed discussion on this up already. So we have this tropical wave here that is very similar to the potential development that we saw with Tropical Storm Alberto, that will continue to support this little weak mid-level circulation that is starting to set up a low-level circulation. It's going to move over the Yucatan Peninsula this weekend, and that will inhibit development for a short time. But it does have potential early next week for developing in the southern Gulf of Mexico. Because of our upper level weather pattern, though, over the United States, any development in the southern Gulf of Mexico is likely going to get pushed right into either Mexico or extreme southern Texas as either a weak tropical low that is disorganized or possibly even a tropical storm, with the primary impacts being the heavy rainfall. So very similar to what we saw back a couple of weeks ago with Alberto is setting up here. Then we have our next tropical disturbance that everyone's keeping an eye on. And this is looking very healthy right now. When we study a tropical wave, typically what we start to look for is organization of the thunderstorms. It's not so much that you need that thunderstorm development is a key factor, because you have thunderstorm development out here, right? What's key here is that you have thunderstorm development and organization is clearly developing around a low-level circulation. And you can also see, notice the clouds see how they're feathering out here. That means you're getting a warm core circulation in which that you're also having an outflow here. So think of it like you're building an engine, and this is the exhaust signature here. So you're causing warm air to rise with this circulation, and then as it rises up into the atmosphere and condenses in these thunderstorms, you have to exhaust that moisture out, the byproduct out, the cooler air out. So you're exhausting out here. So we're getting the full warm core low pressure system development. And clearly, we're very close to either this becoming a tropical depression or tropical storm within the next, I wouldn't be surprised at 11 a.m. we get a tropical depression out of this, because this is looking very healthy. Meanwhile, we have another tropical wave out here that also shows a mid-level circulation. But again, notice the difference here. This is more linear. It's not as organized, so it's not likely to develop as quickly, as opposed to this one where you can clearly see these focus of convection around a low-level center here that's starting to take shape. You can see the outflow here. You can see the cyclonic circulation starting to develop. This linear, more like a weak low pressure system, maybe in the mid levels, but this is clearly in a trough organization, so it's less likely to develop over the next 24 hours, almost at 0%, maybe in the next 5 to 7 days. Now, the development of this feature will influence the development of this feature. Why is that the case? Well, we've been talking about the past several days why I have been less than, let's say, as aggressive as some people out there on social media land, showing all sorts of maps of development and storms curving up towards the Bahamas and moving into the Caribbean and making a right turn and a left turn. Why have I not been doing that? And why have been actually, I went on social media and strongly said, hey, look, this isn't the best idea to do that. The reason why is you have all this dry air to the north. And while I was doubtful that we'd get a circulation really established, okay, so we did that. Fine. So we're getting that developed. The problem with trusting the synoptic models in terms of intensity or even track at this point is that you have all this dry air, and tropical low pressure system, warm core low pressure systems, they're in their full nature, they're mesoscale based, and they are very fickle, the low pressure systems that can be easily disrupted by even the little bit of dry air. Now, we have a ton of dry air to the north. Now, maybe this tropical disturbance because of the upper level development we're already starting to see here, is able to shield itself from a lot of this dry air. But there is a copious amount of it, and it goes all the way into the Lesser Antilles. I cannot, in good conscience, trust any of the synoptic models in terms of intensity of this low pressure system over the next 5 to 7 days with all this dry air out here. And don't get me started on AI models, because we don't know what the error is in that guidance. So I'm staying away from it until we actually see real time model data in this situation, because to do so otherwise is just, well, just malpractice, in my opinion, in terms of meteorology. So we have a hostile environment to the north of this feature. And as a result, we have to see how this feature interacts in this environment. Now, if it's able to break this environment up, okay, and let's just say that it develops rapidly, continues to grow, and allows enough weakening of this very dry air, moistens it up, so to speak, that it opens up a more favorable environment for the next tropical wave. That's why this one influences the potential of this one, because it changes the environment, changes the game, so to speak. As it stands right now, you still have a lot of dry air to deal with, and so you have to remain a bit subdued in your expectations of the development of this low pressure system. That's not to say we shouldn't watch it. I would say anyone in the Lesser Antilles, even those of you around Puerto Rico, if you have any friends and family out there, should certainly keep an eye on this storm. If we get a well-developed tropical storm out here and it gets into the Caribbean, then hey, look, we're gonna have to watch this very carefully, because you got a lot of warm water out here. And while we still have some vertical wind shear, all that can change. And so you kind of want to take this 2 to 3 days at a time. I've still, when it comes to warm core lows, I do not try to advertise 5, 7, 8, 10 days out, because there are so many unknown factors in that environment. But at the same time, you could also understand the overall weather pattern, and the overall weather pattern is a sustained Western Atlantic ridge. So let's take a look at that overall upper level pattern. And so when I look at this 5 to 7 days out, what do I know? I know this trough is exiting out. I see a broad Western Atlantic ridge. So my idea, and we can look at this also on the GFS and also the European ensembles. Okay. With this low pressure system tracking into the Caribbean, it's too far south to be influenced by this feature. So more than likely, if we get a sustained circulation, we get this named, it survives the dry air, it's more likely to track through the Caribbean and somewhere towards the Gulf of Mexico or the Yucatan Peninsula or Central America, somewhere in this ballpark down here, rather than anyone around here. So anyone making videos or maps or anything of that nature with, like, code red down the East Coast and over into Texas because of this feature, is just looking for hits, looking for clicks, whatever you want to call it, looking for traffic. It's irresponsible. But what we do know, if we just take this in a responsible fashion, this looks healthy, likely to become a tropical depression, could be a tropical storm, and we'll have to watch to see. First, let's focus on the Lesser Antilles before we start making maps and get all amped up about the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, there are plenty of people out here to worry about, and they need to watch this storm as it organizes and gets itself going. So that's where we are in the tropics right now. No immediate danger to the United States outside of Puerto Rico, where, again, these individuals will probably want to watch out for this for middle of next week to see where this storm is out. But as far as the continental United States, no impact, certainly no threat for the northern mid-Atlantic. Meanwhile, with this pattern, we're under the influence. We don't have a La Nina yet. We don't have the influences yet. So we'll put that factor there. What is driving this pattern for the most part? It is the nature of the negative PDO, as we discussed with the cold water down the West Coast, and the nature of the positive AMO with very warm waters in the Atlantic and the cool waters right around here relative, which supports a sustained Western Atlantic ridge. So that's essentially what we see over the next 7 to 10 days. Okay. This battle and this setup between a predominant trough over the Pacific Northwest, a weakness here over the eastern United States, more like towards the Great Lakes, and then the Western Atlantic ridge setting up. We even have a little weakness here that's showing up here, a little cut off upper level low. It shows up more in the um, operational guidance than the ensemble guidance, which makes me suspect that this is much weaker than what the European and the GFS is showing. So what this generally means is that we are on the southwesterly flow and tropical flow. This also means that, hey, these cold fronts are going to try to push through. You might get a day or so of cooler air, more like drier air, okay? Because the 850 millibar temperatures are not changing all that much over the northern mid-Atlantic, but certainly drier air. And then we go right back into hot and humid again and tropical. And that's generally the theme that we're going to be going through throughout much of this summer. Hey, look, this is the type of summer where the Western Atlantic Ridge Bermuda High dominates, and that's essentially what we're seeing here. And we can see that going through on the GFS here, and we see the general theme here on the European ensembles as well. You can see that in the GFS ensembles too. So what you've been seeing is what we continue to get. I still don't see multiple days of 100-degree temperatures or anything that was extreme. That has now disappeared from the guidance altogether. Now we got a true understanding of what this pattern is. But certainly days in the mid to upper 90s, heat index over 100, absolutely. Muggy days with general high temperatures in the mid 80s to lower 90s, that's going to be on average the predominant theme, with humidity making it feel more like the mid 90s to 99 degrees, let's say, something like that. So anyway you slice it, it's going to be muggy out, but not the extreme heat. But also that opens up the potential for thunderstorms. So let's talk about that. Right now, it's beautiful out. You can't get any better than this. High pressure and control. Winds are veering from the northwest to the northeast. As we move on through the day into tomorrow, they're going to continue to veer more to the southeast as we get a warm front getting ready to invade for tomorrow. But for today, look at these dew points in the 40s and 50s. It feels amazing out, with temperatures in the mid to upper 60s over the northern interior, upper 60s to lower 70s along the coast. You walk outside, it feels refreshing, energizing in a way, right? So it is wonderful out. And you can see that also in the latest SPC guidance. Look at this. In the middle of summer, you get dew points in the 50s. That is a win. Go out and enjoy the day. Go watch some baseball games like the dynamic, amazing Mets or even the powerful Phillies. Even though they're dealing with some injuries, I'm sure they'll be fine. Yankee fans, I'm sorry. I'm not going to push it, but they'll be fine. Trust me. They've got over 50 wins. They'll be fine. But it's going to be beautiful out. That's the theme. That's the key point takeaway. Even on the WeatherTap radar and surface map, cold front well off the coast, high pressure and control. But you could see trouble brewing off to our west. You see this stationary front. This would be lifting north as a warm front, and you see all this moisture advancement. Well, you can see on the visible satellite picture, the clouds are growing in the upper Midwest and pushing towards the Ohio River Valley. Beautiful for us. You can see also on the infrared satellite picture, look at this lifting taking place here on our WeatherTap satellite picture. You could see trouble brewing. And on the water vapor satellite picture, there's our upper level trough exiting. Heights are starting to build. Warm air is ready to invade. And that is the theme for this weekend. For today, it's going to be beautiful. By the time we get to tomorrow morning, warm air transport begins. And you can see that here at 850 millibars. You see that southwesterly flow. There is our influence of our Bermuda High right there along the east coast, that southwesterly flow. And you can see our temperatures begin to rise steadily throughout the day on Saturday. Now, Saturday will be the better day of the weekend. Temperatures will definitely be warmer. You'll definitely feel the increase in humidity, but it won't be oppressive. Yes, there will be some scattered showers around, especially with this moisture transport. The showers won't be widespread, but you see how the precipitable water values are pushing over 2 inches, which is, basically what you would expect down here in Florida. That's what's pushing into the northern Atlantic. So you got a mix of sun and clouds, scattered showers, but those showers are going to be capable of dropping a ton of rain in a very short period of time. Not every shower, but understand that is the potential with this type of air mass. When you have this much moisture, again, when you start exceeding 2 inches in your atmospheric environment, that is an environment where you could drop an inch of rain in a very short period of time from a passing shower. It's essentially what you would expect in the Caribbean. So yeah, that's pretty impressive for any time of year, but even in summer, that's very impressive. So you have your warm air transport continuing, not strong lifting, which is why I'm going with scattered showers. But when anytime you have a warm front lifting through, you have isotropic lifting, or in other words, warm air invading. So you have to keep shower threat in the forecast. And that's going to continue on through Sunday afternoon. But by Sunday afternoon, your 850 millibar temperatures are close to 20 degrees Celsius, and your precipitable water values are well over 2 inches. Now, by Sunday afternoon, late Sunday afternoon to Sunday evening, we're going to have a short wave starting to pass through the region, increasing lifting, increasing the support for vertical wind shear. How do we know that? We'll take a look at the jet streak here as we move through Saturday into Sunday. Notice how it's increasing to our north. And then on Sunday afternoon, it continues to linger. Why am I concerned about this? Because we have just enough vertical wind shear to create some interesting dynamics. You throw this in with strong moisture transport, and then your environment on Sunday. Now, I've been talking about quite a bit about the impacts of the urban heat island effect. Ladies and gentlemen, on Sunday, it is going to be very, very hot and very humid, and that's going to push your heat index over 100 degrees around the Delaware River Valley. This also leads to a heck of a thermal gradient at the lowest levels of the atmosphere. It leads to the potential for a confluence and convergence towards this heat, as this type of heat leads to more rising in the atmosphere. So you have this low level convergence and confluence twisting in the atmosphere, and then you have the cold front approaching on Sunday evening with a 850 millibar jet that's trying to strengthen. You also have plenty of instability. You're talking about Cape values over 2,000 joules per kilogram out here along the coastal plain on Sunday afternoon and evening. So you have a very unstable environment. All you need is a trigger, and then here comes that cold front moving through. So I am concerned on Sunday, late Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening for strong to severe thunderstorms around the region. So that's something that we seriously have to keep an eye on as this all moves through. And then for the start of next week, we get a nice polar air mass briefly invading before we repeat once again. And what about 4th of July? Well, it looks like, again, we have a setup here where we have humid air trying to invade and instability in the atmosphere. Looks like 4th of July is going to be a very hot day, and Mother Nature could actually be adding their own fireworks into this forecast as well. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. And oh, by the way, I'll update early next week on whether or not we'll have a live chat next week, depending on activities I might be doing for the 4th of July and whether or not we have severe weather to worry about. If we do, then I'll likely do a live chat. If we don't, if it's just going to be hot and muggy, maybe an isolated thunderstorm, I'll hold off until hold off a bit or maybe push it off to another day. We'll see. I'll update on Monday on that. So let's dive into this forecast for today. High pressure and control, beautiful weather conditions, high temperatures in the mid to upper 70s over the interior, mid to upper 70s along the coast, and lower to mid 80s in the Delaware River Valley. Absolutely beautiful. For tonight into tomorrow, increasing clouds, increasing humidity, a few showers towards daybreak with low temperatures in the lower to mid 60s over the interior, mid to upper 60s along the coast. For tomorrow afternoon, warm front lifts northward We will be dealing with scattered showers. Not everyone will see showers, but if you do get hit with a shower, you could easily pick up a quick half an inch or inch of rain because of the tropical nature of the atmosphere, increasing humidity with high temperatures ranging from the upper 70s to lower 80s on Long Island. Thank the Atlantic Ocean for staying cool on Long Island. Mid to upper 80s along the coast, upper 80s to lower 90s in the Delaware River Valley, and lower to mid 80s over the interior. On Sunday, the cold front approaches the region. It gets muggy, hot, humid, disgusting out, with low temperatures ranging from the lower to mid 70s over the northern interior, mid to upper 70s in your suburbs, upper 70s to lower 80s in your urban areas. High temperatures will range from the lower to mid 80s on Long Island, mid to upper 80s along the immediate coast, lower to mid 90s along the Delaware River Valley, with a few mid to upper 90s around the Philadelphia metro, heat index approaching 100 degrees. Over the interior, mid 80s to lower 90s. Again, hazy, hot, humid, with pop-up thunderstorms ahead of the cold front, and then a solid line of thunderstorms in the evening with that cold front passage. And some of those thunderstorms could be severe, with intense downpours, frequent lightning, wind gusts over 50 miles per hour via straight line wind gusts, hail, and yes, maybe an isolated tornado. Can't rule it out. We'll keep an eye on that development. On Monday, of course, as we go back to work for a short work week, sky cloud cover can be expected. There may be an isolated shower in the interior with a weak trough, but I think for the most part, we're looking at crashing humidity and improving conditions with low temperatures in the mid to upper 50s over the interior, lower to mid 60s along the coast. High temperatures will range from the mid to upper 70s over the interior, lower to mid 80s along the coast. On Tuesday, high pressure and control with pleasant weather conditions, lows in the lower to mid 50s in your higher elevations, upper 50s to lower 60s in your suburbs, lower to mid 60s in your urban areas. Look for high temperatures to range from the upper 70s to lower 80s over the interior, lower to mid 80s along the coast, and mid to upper 80s in the Delaware River Valley. On Wednesday, look for scattered cloud cover, increasing humidity with low temperatures ranging from the lower to mid 60s. High temperatures will range from the mid to upper 80s over the interior, upper 70s to lower 80s on Long Island, mid to upper 80s along the coast, and upper 80s to lower 90s in the Delaware River Valley. On Thursday, 4th of July, well, Mother Nature could provide its own fireworks with a few isolated thunderstorms. Look for hazy, hot, and humid conditions otherwise, with low temperatures in the upper 60s to lower 70s, and high temperatures will range from the lower to mid 80s on Long Island, upper 80s to lower 90s along the coast, mid to upper 90s in the Delaware River Valley, and upper 80s to lower 90s over the interior, with a heat index again approaching 100 degrees. It's going to be hot out there, so if you plan on having any outdoor activities, at the very least, just plan for being able to drink plenty of water and trying to stay cool, especially around the Philadelphia metro, such as New Jersey, the suburbs of New York City. It's going to be pretty toasty out there. Now, on Friday, we'll have that cold front clear out with a few lingering showers possible in the morning. We'll see just how far south this cold front gets before everything clears out, but I can't rule out a few isolated thunderstorms, with low temperatures ranging from the upper 60s to lower 70s over the interior, lower to mid 70s along the coast. High temperatures will range from the lower to mid 80s on Long Island, upper 80s to lower 90s along the coast, lower to mid 90s in the Delaware River Valley, and upper 80s to lower 90s over the interior. That is your forecast discussion for today. Have a wonderful weekend, and as always, stay safe out there.